a financial aid representative for the financial aid office on campus. I have been with this office for almost 3 years. I'm a Vandal alum, and I'm finishing up my master's degree actually currently. So I've also had to navigate a little bit of the financial aid realm myself. With me tonight, I have Yadira Estrada, and I will pass over the mic to her for a bit to introduce herself, and then we'll continue on with the presentation tonight.
Hello, everybody. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Yadira. I've been with financial aid for a few months now. I'm a recent graduate from the University of Idaho. So yeah, go Vandals.
Perfect. So if at any point throughout the presentation you guys have any questions, concerns, or if you have any personal maybe circumstances that you'd like to discuss at a different time, feel free to message either Yadira or myself, or even connect with Jean and Corinne to try to schedule an appointment for the future. Right now we are not taking any in-person appointments per se, but because of our COVID situation, so we would highly encourage you guys to try to schedule something via Vandal Star. With all of our counselors are available to meet with you guys and chat with you guys should you need a little bit maybe more personal conversation to happen. So without further to do, I will share my screen here and get going. Perfect. All right. Give me just a minute here. All right, so as of October 1st, the FAFSA for this next upcoming year, so 2021-2022, is now open. If you haven't yet filed your FAFSA, I would highly encourage you to do so. Even if you think that, you won't get any grant money per se, or any money as many consider it, it's a nice little backup option should your family or yourself find yourself in an emergency situation where you need to tap into maybe some loans, etc. So that is still open. Priority date for that was December 1st. Now that means it's priority consideration. So you can still apply and submit a FAFSA application. However, those who submitted their FAFSA application by December 1st were captured and will be captured and considered for all and any eligible aid that the student could potentially qualify for. Now, I skipped over one. In late November, verification requests begin. Many of you guys may or may not have already received emails saying, hey, we need this from you. We need some extra documentation of some sort for whatever reason, right? We don't select you guys, just so you know. If you say, hey, they've been selecting me 3 years in a row now, we don't go and say, hey, princess, we're gonna pick you because we want to give you a hard time and want additional documentation. This is coming from the federal financial aid entity. So the Department of Education is the one who manages those verification requests. They may get a little tricky sometime. The nice thing now that what we've shifted over to submission via like online. So now you can log into Vandal Web and submit those electronically versus prior, it was all just in person. So you can and will have the option to view what documents you may need to submit, a brief description of what those documents require, what information those require, and you can also upload there and then. So we've kind of tried to streamline that a little bit more to make it more easier for you. Sure, I'm sure some of you guys have had some issues with it, but overall, it's aimed to help you guys out a little bit more. Now, in early spring, we send out what we call award letters. For those of you here in this meeting, you won't receive yours until probably early March or late February. So first year students, we have sent out those award letters already via mail and email. You as continuing students will only receive your award letter via email. So keep an eye on your Vandal mail. As I said, late February, early March for an email saying, hey, your award letter is now available for you to view in Vandal Web. You then go to Vandal Web and check out what you've been awarded for the upcoming year. Now, one thing to note is that if you have verification documents that have been requested and have not been yet submitted, you will not have any federal aid show up on your award letter. So federal aid encompasses Pell Grant, any student loan, subsidized, unsubsidized loan, Parent Plus loan, and SCOG, which is a very small grant, and work study. So with all that to say, please submit your verification documents as soon as you can. That way we can give you a very accurate award letter for this next upcoming academic year. Any questions so far on that deadline there? I have a couple more dates coming up, but just wanted to ask since that was a lot of information. Perfect. All right, so as I said, you should receive an award letter here soon, March 1st, and we have two very important State Board of Education scholarships that you can apply for. Governor's Cup is $3,000. It is renewable for up to 4 years. You do have to reapply. Same with Idaho Opportunity Scholarship, except it's a little bit more. So they're up to $3,500 in award and funding per year, up to 4 years as well. Those requirements I will go over in a different slide later on in the presentation, but just know that those two deadlines are approaching soon. Towards the end of our presentation tonight, if anyone needs help with the Idaho Opportunity Scholarship, I'm more than willing to assist you in completing that application. Now, the post-secondary scholarship, that one's an ongoing scholarship. It's also funded through the Idaho State Board of Education. That award amount ranges, as you can see there on the slide. And this is contingent on the completion of dual credit courses. So if you completed any dual credit in high school, you could potentially apply for this one. I think, though, now that I'm thinking about it, that one's only open to high school students. I will double check on that and follow up with Corinne on that scholarship. All right, an FSA ID. For most of you guys who have filed a FAFSA, this is a repetition probably. It's essentially just a username that a parent and both the student need to create to be able to fill out this application. So similar to, let's say you're subscribing to a retail online shopping entity, right? You need an email and you need a password. This is very similar, except this is a little bit more sensitive. It requires Social Security, it requires birthday, it requires some security questions as well. This is a very, very important kind of sensitive information to have. Without this, you cannot file FAFSA and or log in to renew your FAFSA for the upcoming academic year. So as I stated, the FAFSA for next academic year is now open. What this means is that essentially any student who wants to borrow or wants to fund their education and be considered for any federal aid can and should now apply for this application. It takes literally less than 30 minutes. I know some of you guys are looking at me and saying, no, it took me like over a couple of days to finish this application. It can be a little bit complex depending on your household information, which encompasses so much. But essentially it collects a lot of your household information from income to any assets, any savings, checkings accounts that you guys may have, and transforms that makeup into a number, right? A lot of us may be familiar with what we know as the EFC, the estimated family contribution. It populates and generates that number for us using this application, which then allows us as administrators to offer you some financial aid contingent on that number. Now, one little tool that will simplify a lot of your issues and headaches is the IRS data retrieval tool. This will literally save you so much time. I've used it before for my own FAFSA as a grad student, and it literally probably takes me like, I'm not kidding you guys, 10 minutes to complete my FAFSA. Now, for you guys who have to enter parent information, that may look a little bit different, but I do promise that it will alleviate a lot of time and stress if you are to use this data retrieval tool. Now, if your parents didn't or have not filed 2019 tax information, or you as a student, you cannot utilize this tool, unfortunately. You have to have had your taxes filed already for the 2019 year to be able to use this and import that data straight from the IRS. Do we have any questions regarding the IRS tool? And I can't see the chat, so Corinne or Jean or Yadidas, if you guys want to shout those out as we move along, feel free to do so too. All right, so what exactly is financial aid? So we kind of break it up into 4 subsections. So we have grants, we have scholarships, we have work study, and we have federal loans. Grants and scholarships are 100% free. You do not have to pay these back. You won't if if once you graduate, or let's say you take a semester off of school, you do not have to pay these scholarships back. They're completely free. Same with grants, which Pell Grant and SCOG, a very tiny grant, those two are categorized into the grant category there. These can be awarded based on your GPA from either high school as a senior coming into college, or now for you guys as continuing students, so based on your GPA from last semester and the year, so last academic year as well. Some of these may be renewable. FAFSA is renewable, as you already know, you file it every single year. Same with the Idaho Opportunity and the Governor's Cup Scholarship. Any of you guys who may have the WUI or Idaho, or the Go Idaho, I'm sorry, scholarships, those are renewable. They are contingent, however, on your GPA. So you do have to have a 2.5 GPA for those to renew every single year. The Pell Grant, this academic year that we're still in, so 2020 to 2021, ranges, and it always has, but the maximum award for this academic year is $6,345. Now, for those who are in-state residents, that completely covers, or not completely, I'm sorry, almost covers your tuition fees, right? For those out of state, not so much, but there are other avenues to fund that out of state cost difference. And then, as I mentioned, that SCOG grant, those vary from school to school. Our school awards $400 SCOG grants. Those also change every year and can be determined by the FAFSA. Usually they're determined on if our tuition goes up or not. All right, so scholarship programs for Idaho residents. And don't worry, those who are coming out of state, the next slide is for you guys. So Idaho Opportunity, as I stated, you have to have a 2.7 GPA at a high school level. For you who are continuing, you also have to have a 2.7 GPA at a collegiate level. So if you have that GPA requirement, please apply. It is literally like a 5-minute application. If you have all your credentials and you're good to go. And you can get $3,500 in funding, which is pretty good. The application, as I said, and I will reiterate, it is due March 1st of this year. So if you have not yet applied, please make sure to connect with me after this presentation, and I'm happy to help with that. If you're interested or have served in some kind of public service or volunteer work on campus, also take the Idaho Governor's Cup Scholarship into consideration. This is also renewable up to 4 years in funding and $3,000. And then last but not least, as I kind of covered prior to this slide, if you have at least 10 college or dual credit enrollment courses upon graduating, you can apply the Idaho Post-Secondary Credit Scholarship, and this one is actually just for seniors, so disregard this one. The Go Idaho program is broken up into 4 tiers. As you guys may already know, those who are Idaho residents, you do not have to maintain the GPA requirement that you came in with right out of high school to be awarded this scholarship. So for example, let's say I have an IE. So let's say an IE, you came in with a 3.9 GPA and we awarded you the Go Idaho Platinum, which, by the way, we renamed all those levels now in tiers. So it's the Vandal Pride. We awarded you the Vandal Pride for $4,000 that first year, your freshman year at UI. you don't have to maintain that 3.9 to 4.0 GPA for that to renew. So you just have to have a 2.5 institutional cumulative GPA, and that scholarship will renew automatically on its own, which is pretty neat. You guys don't have to do anything to renew that. Just keep the GPA requirement. And then you can see there the levels below that Vandal Pride there. Any questions so far, you guys? Perfect. All right, so those who are out of state, you would have, you would have received the WUI tuition waiver. You probably would not have received the invitation to Idaho because of the cohort that you guys came in, but the WUI waiver and the invitation to Idaho are essentially the same thing. The WUI serves specific WUI states, which you can see they're listed on the fourth bullet. Invitation to Idaho essentially serves every other state that is not listed there. So if you have someone coming from New York, they would not be served by the WUI, but we would serve them with the invitation to Idaho waiver as well. Same exact value, just the invitation to Idaho does have a larger or a higher GPA requirement than the WUI. The WUI right now has no GPA requirement whatsoever anymore. But you do have to maintain a 2.5 GPA to continue to keep this WUI waiver. Now, if any of you continuing students here find yourself that, you're struggling this semester, or maybe you struggled last semester, or you're going into your senior year and you don't meet that 2.5 GPA, please reach out to me. We do have scholarship appeals that you can file to be considered for either one more semester or one more year of funding from the WUI waiver. Now, let's say that you are a fourth year student, you're in your senior year, but you find out that you need one more semester to finish. You please also reach out to me, because there have been circumstances where we're pretty understanding. We're trying to get you guys graduated. And so we will, in most cases, it's not guaranteed, but in most cases, we do try to kind of override the 4-year awarding frame, and we will award it for another semester, for another year. Any questions on the WUI or the invitation to Idaho? Perfect. These are just some examples of some UI scholarships. So athletic scholarships are available. Some are full rides, some are not. Honors program, if you are a participant of this program, also scholarships. Diversity, as you all may know, you guys receive scholarship through the OMA office. And that one is also renewable, but contingent on your grades as well. And then other departmental scholarships, such as, academic. If you are in the College of Engineering, you may get a scholarship from them, et cetera, et cetera. So federal and private loans, this is a topic that I know not a lot of you like to talk about, because you have this preconceived idea that federal loans are bad and you don't want to take them out, which I completely understand and I respect. However, it is a nice little form of eligibility and funding opportunity if you qualify to fund your education, whether your parents may not be able to help, whether you are solely on your own and have to fund your education on your own, whatever the reason or circumstance may be. It's a nice little kind of background, like nice little plan B to have, whether you find yourself in a circumstance where you're like, shoot, I need $2,000 more to be able to pay for this year. Let me tap into my loan for just that $2,000. So there are limits. We call them annual limits for each student level. As you see there on the second bullet, $5,500 for a first year student who is dependent on parents. Now, one thing that I want to note really quick is that you as students are considered a dependent student. So that means you are dependent on parent finances. I know most of you guys here may say, but my parents don't help me whatsoever. Sure, but in the eyes of the Department of Education, you are considered a dependent student and have to provide parent information unless there are extenuating circumstances, which there are. You're homeless, you're a ward of the court, et cetera, et cetera. You are considered a dependent student unless you are, of age of 24, you're married, you have children of your own. You may be considered independent. So we do categorize students into dependent and independent. Most of our students fall into the dependent category. And so those students as freshmen can borrow up to $5,500 in loans. That can be a combination of subsidized loan, which has no interest while you are in school. It's the better one of the two. And the second one being the unsubsidized loan, does have interest and will accrue while you're in school once you originate that loan. We also have lifetime limits for dependent students because, of course, we want to keep you in a safe borrowing kind of frame. And it is a requirement also that we have to follow as per the Department of Education. So that lifetime limit is $31,000. There are a little bit of like loopholes to this. Like if your parents can't borrow, then you can do what we call like a parent plus appeal, where we give you more unsubsidized loan. The unsubsidized loan does not count towards this $31,000 per year. One thing that I did fail to mention on that second bullet, if you're a second year, third year, fourth year, second year limit for the year is $6,500. Third year is $7,500 and senior year is $7,500 as well. So your loan limits go up as you progress through your education. One nice thing, at least I consider nice, is that we got from COVID is that our interest rates are pretty low for this academic year. So we went from having, I think, like a 3.4 interest rate last year to having a 2.75 interest rate on loans. Now, once again, subsidized loan has 0% while you are in school. Once you graduate, you will have a 6-month grace period. That'll give you time to find a job, get some stable income, and then start repaying back those loans. So after 6 months, your payments will kick in. At that 6-month mark, that interest will start accruing on the subsidized loan. The unsubsidized loan, however, had already started accruing interest from the get-go. So if I were to borrow unsubsidized loan right now as an undergraduate student, let's say, then my interest rate would start today. I hope that makes sense, Sarah. You do only have to be in 6 credits to borrow loans. Scholarships work differently. You have to be full-time for almost 90%, for about 90% of them, I would say. But for loans, you only have to be in 6 credits. Same with Pell Grant. We have a prorated chart. So if you're in 6 credits, you'll get less than the full amount. And then that Parent Plus loan does have a fixed interest of 5.30 for this year. Also a result of COVID. Last year it was at about 7.3, excuse me, somewhere around there. So those interest rates have gone down due to COVID and our economic state right now. And then last but not least, private loans. So we cannot advise on private loans because we work solely with just the federal government loans. However, if you go through any credit unions, P1FCU, ICCU, at Wells Fargo, any bank that you may go through, you can inquire about these private loans and ask to see what their rates are. Usually though, private loans have a higher interest rate than federal student loans. So just keep that in mind too. I know a lot of students, I've seen a lot of students who go through Sallie Mae. Those have some pretty high interest rates. So kind of just do some research. Feel free to reach out to our office if you need some advice or counseling through, which option is better for me to borrow from and how do I do it, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so student employment, this falls under the umbrella of work study. And so work study is awarded on a first come, first served basis. And I say that meaning if the student has filed their FAFSA by December 1st, and if they're eligible, it is a need-based award. So the student needs to show some need. then they could potentially be awarded this grant. It is up to $2,000 per year. So that means per semester you can earn about $1,000 for whatever your needs may be. One thing that you do want to consider, or you may already know, is when you're looking at your award offer, your award letter, and it says work study 2000, don't count that in as like with your scholarships and with your Pell Grant and SEOG, because work study you have to pay for, and you earn it as you work those hours. The other aid will pay out before the beginning of the semester. So this year we implemented Handshake, as maybe some of you guys have already used this platform. So it essentially runs through career services on campus, and you have to, like, some jobs will require a resume and for you to apply for the job, whereas before that wasn't the process. And the supervisors have more kind of access and autonomy with this platform itself. We still have some kind of role, but it's more so on the student and the supervisor to kind of figure out work study accommodations. Last but not least on this slide, off-campus employment. Many businesses and establishments here in Moscow, or even Pullman, who, pay some pretty good money, maybe even pay you more than, $2,000 a year. However, there are some pros and cons that I suggest you guys to look into. On-campus employment, it's a little bit more flexible with your school schedule. Off-campus might not be that flexible. So just keep that into consideration when you're looking into employment opportunities. And last but not least, this is our contact information. I have one more slide after this, but if you guys want to take a picture of this slide for your own records, we do have counselors who are assigned to a part of the alphabet. So as you see there, A through E is Maggie. And so she works very closely with any student who is within that alphabet by last name. So let's say, I think I saw Benjamin Gonzalez there. Benjamin, your financial aid counselor would be Daniel. So you would, contact him if you have any questions regarding your own financial aid, or if there are circumstances that you need to discuss with someone, he would be your guy. And as you see there, the others are listed. I don't work specifically with an alphabet. I am more on the scholarship side of financial aid. I do have a role within federal financial aid. So you can contact me for whatever. And then if I need to escalate it, I can pass it on to, let's say, Yabi or Alex. And then our main email right now, since our office is kind of closed, we're taking most inquiries through email and phone. We do have someone constantly on the phone and email. If you call us and you're like, financial aid's not answering, I don't know, are they not working today? I promise you we're there. It's just been pretty busy, and our call volumes are extremely busy, especially at the very beginning of each semester. So fall and spring, it's just the phone's nonstop ringing and emails are coming in like you have no idea. So just give us about 24 to 48 hours on email. Usually it's less than 24, but just to buy us a little bit of time. That's a safe kind of safe net there for us. And then last but not least, we have Beams at U of I. This is better education about money for students. Essentially, if you have any questions or you need help or guidance, just budgeting your money, maybe budgeting your bills versus your income, whatever you think you have questions on, I'd encourage you guys to reach out to the email. They're listed at the very bottom. Right now, our Beams coordinator is actually working remotely, kind of indefinitely. He's no longer in Moscow, but he does still meet with students via Zoom, should you guys want to meet with him. Now, before I conclude our presentation, one thing that I missed that I'm just now thinking about, if your parents or you as students came across and experienced maybe a loss of income due to COVID, and because now for this next year, we're looking at 2019 tax information. If you guys experience any changes, 2019 was not COVID year, right? So we experienced COVID in 2020. So if parents lost their job, if parents were laid off, if parents were furloughed for 25 hours, I don't know, whatever the circumstance may be, and the income is no longer the same from the year prior, we do have an appeal process that we can try to see if the circumstances would qualify. But in most cases, what we do on our side is we call it like an income recalculation. And so we have you guys fill out some paperwork, give us some documentation of a current snapshot of what the income looks like. And we can help talk you through that too, if you need help. But just keep that in mind moving forward next year. If your Pell Grant is lower because it's taking into consideration 2019 tax information, and 2020 was such a hard year for all of us, then please contact our office and see what options you may have you may have at your hands that you can pursue. And with that, I conclude our presentation for tonight. Once again, my name is Stephanie Bittis. I work for the financial aid office here on campus. There's our number and there's our email should you guys have any further questions that you may want to ask at a later time.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. I did want to ask, can you also explore the Scholarship Universe tool a little bit?
Yes, give me just a minute. Sorry, bear with me here. I'm trying to get it up.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen really quick here. Perfect. So this here is our new tool that the institution is more or less moving to. We will still, do some of our processes in the office as normal, and award scholarships as normal, but we will be using this tool to kind of help streamline that process that we use now versus this new software that will help us award students a lot quicker, a lot easier, because it's a lot of manual work on our side. And then a great resource for you guys to navigate and to try to find external scholarships at your hands with just a quick UOI login. Are there any specific questions, though, Corinne, or students that you may have regarding the software or the platform?
I think one question is, could you walk us through just a little bit what searching for external scholarships look like?
Yeah.
And maybe also speaking to, I know, I also just thinking of my own experience as a student, just
Sure.
how many scholarships there are, it can be really overwhelming. So also maybe any advice on kind of narrowing down scholarships to find ones that are best suited for students.
Yeah. So as you can see here, well, first I've already created a profile. So you will basically be taken through let's see if I can maybe do it, maybe a little. Okay, 3 questions. Let's see if maybe. I don't know if it's going to let me update it because I entered all my information in it already, but students, essentially, you're going to have to set up a profile. It's pretty intuitive. So if you say, I'm attending University of Idaho, okay, what college are you in? And then it'll do kind of like a little ladder in terms of questions, and you have to answer you don't have to, you can skip some of these. You don't have to answer all these questions. It'll then take you to, okay, what are your extracurriculars? What are your interests? What is your career interest? What is your GPA? It'll ask you all those very important questions to then match you with scholarships. So as you can see here, for me, I was matched with 87 scholarships. And this is how much those 87 scholarships may be worth in terms of funding. Now, I haven't applied to any. If it's in review, that means it has now been submitted and it has been sent off or submitted to the organization or the business who is advertising that scholarship. And then down here, you should be able to see how many you were awarded, or if none, then it'll show 0 there. And so if we go to scholarships here, granted, it won't show you like the most accurate form of how to navigate it because I had already set up a profile. But essentially, these are all that are kind of that were generated according to the information that I put in. And so a lot of these are kind of like law, because my master's right now is semi-related to the law field. But I mean, you can do kind of like whatever. And so let's take a look here. So this one is open between January 1st to March 31st of this year. And so if I were to apply, it directs me to the website. And then I can apply here. So a motorcycle safety scholarship, right? And then it'll say what you need, the deadline, and then when they plan to announce it, obviously. And then most of these are actually pretty general. This one's, I think, a more of an extracurricular scholarship. So the eligibility is not super strict. But there will be others that you encounter on the Scholarship Universe platform that, may require a little bit more effort in terms of what your submission looks like. Students, do you guys have any question though regarding this tool? It is open to any UI student. You need to have your Vandal email, just like Vandal Web, your Vandal email and your password to be able to access this. And then once it generates all those, you can, either pin them so that way to apply to it, or, you can say not interested and it'll put in this not interested pile. And then here it should show you like the applications you've submitted, some scholarships that may be like, you could qualify for this, but you need to do a little bit more digging and viewing to see if you truly would recognize or would qualify for it. But for the most part, I think it's pretty intuitive, even from this student perspective. So up here, you can see that I have the employee profile as well, because we manage this software and platform, but I can also switch to the student view, and the student view, let me tell you, is a lot easier to navigate than the employee one. Any other questions though, Corinne, regarding the platform itself?
No, not for me.
Okay, students, any questions? Perfect. I know I'm probably the only thing that's standing between you and dinner right now. But if you guys have any questions, please, I'll reiterate, feel free to email us, call us, ask for us if you want to go into more detail. And we're here to serve you always. Hi, Kaya. Kaya's from Weezer, actually. But it was so nice to maybe not see you guys, but present to you all. And Corinne, if you guys have any, pressing questions after this presentation that I was maybe unable to answer or address, just feel free to shoot me an email, and I'm happy to try to mitigate that or troubleshoot it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie.
Yes, you're so welcome.
And students who are on right now, we do have a little bit longer kind of in the program. And so one thing that I suggest using this time for, if everyone's kind of at their laptop and seated, is I know one suggestion Stephanie had was, if you are eligible or you have received the Idaho Opportunity Scholarship, going ahead and applying for that right now. Another suggestion I have too is setting up that scholarship universe profile now during the span of the workshop. So you can start looking at scholarships you're eligible, you can start applying. Now is the perfect time for applying for next year, because as you even saw with that tool, like deadlines are going to start coming up. So maybe we can spend the next 13 to 15 minutes having y'all get set up. Myself, Stephanie, Jean, Yadira are all available. So if you wanted to go into a breakout room and consult with someone one-on-one, just let us know.